This is my clump style Ficus benjamina bonsai, which had a pretty busy year. It was repotted in winter and then pruned back in early spring. You can find the videos covering all the previous operations done on this tree in the playlist linked down in the video description field. We are now at the end of August and this Ficus benjamina needs another pruning. It's raining today for the first time in over a month, so it's a perfect time for pruning a ficus tree. The benjamina clump grew very well over the summer and it still does, but I need to sort out its structure once again before the end of the warm season.
I will look at each individual tree in the clump and decide how to prune it so that the overall shape of the clump looks well. In clump style trees growing in nature, you almost always see a dominant tree. In my clump here, this one seems to be the dominant when looking at the height. However, this dominance is not visible in the trunk size. This other one here has a bigger, thicker trunk, but it's not the tallest one. So in time I will have to decide if this is going to be the dominant one or this other one. For now I don't have many choices, as this one has all the branching up top and I don't have any options of reducing its size, so we will see what kind of solutions will develop by backbudding in the future. If no solutions will develop in the future, I will have to reduce the vigor on this one and let this thinner one go more vigorously so that it gains thickness on the trunk to make it a more real dominant tree in a clump. The third tree in the clump is the thinnest one and also the smallest one when looking at its size, so yeah, it should be pretty realistic. One of the reasons for thinning out the structure is so that more light can get into the lower branches, the lower tree, so that they can also develop properly. And there are a lot of branches growing towards the inside, so not enough light is going to the middle. So I will have a look at each individual trunk and decide what to prune and what to keep. I will start by trimming back the tallest of the trees. So first we have this branch here, which is growing totally towards the inside and it's not letting in enough light to reach the lower parts. So it will have to come off. So I'm going to cut it back to here and leave this smaller branch as it's growing in a nice direction. So off it goes. Now there's this other branch here which is also growing a bit towards the inside, but I don't want to reduce it completely. So I think I'm going to cut it back to here and let this leader, which is growing towards the outside. So now looking at this taller one, just want to reduce it a bit, and let's see what we have here. I will probably keep this one as a leader as it's growing toward the outside, or maybe this one. Yeah, this one could be good for a leader, and this one could be good for a side branch going in that direction. So I will cut it back to here for now, and by using directional pruning I'm going to cut here to a leaf in this direction, so the new branch, new bud that will appear because of the apical dominance should grow in this way. So I will reduce this back to here, and I'm also going to reduce this branch back to this bud here, I think. So already started to branch here. Yes. Now looking at this other side, there's another branch that's growing toward the inside here, so let's see what can be done about that. Well, I'm not going to cut it off completely, I'm going to shorten it to this node here, which could lead to a branch to a new tip growing to this side. So cut it back to here. Then there are these branches that need a little bit of trimming back. I'm going to trim this one back to here where there's a side branch. It will continue as its leader.
I could remove all this top part here and let this one be the new leader. And I think I will do just that. So I'll cut this back completely and trim this back to a node, leaf node growing to this direction, meaning back to here. Alright, now there's this branch here that's left, which I'm going to trim back to here, where there's a nice side branch growing more horizontally and toward the outside, like that. And I think that's all for now. No, there's another small branch here that needs to be cut back to here. Okay, I think that's all for this trunk. Onward to the second largest. Now, this trunk here is not very nice. It has this long portion here which only branches at the very top, and it's also growing toward the inside of the tree, not letting in enough light for the lower, smaller trunk. So I'm going to cut off this portion completely and let this thinner one be the new leader. Now let's see if we can sort out what's left of this trunk. So I will cut the tip back to here, where there's already a new branch going upwards in the right direction. Then this one here will have to be trimmed back so it doesn't compete with the actual leader. So I'll cut it back to here. And it has an inside branch here which is not that nice, and we are left with these branches here which are too tightly packed together. So I will cut this one off and I will cut this one back to this leaf node here. And yeah, that should do it for now. This trunk also has a lower branch here, so let's see what we can do about it. There's a bud here going toward the outside, so first I'm going to cut this back to here, and this one is not growing at a nice angle, so it will have to come off. Okay, then there's another one here growing vertically toward the inside of the tree. It's also coming off. Now I want this branch growing more horizontally, so this current leader here is not what I want. So what I'm going to do is cut it back to here. Then I'll use directional pruning to generate new growth in this direction toward the outside of the tree. So I'll cut this back to here, and I'll also cut this back to this leaf node, which should generate new growth in this direction. Okay, and we are left with this branch here, which I'm going to cut back to a leaf node growing again towards the outside of the tree. So that means here. Yeah, that should be all for this trunk. The smaller trunk is just a mess of branches growing on its top like a pom-pom, so I'll have to see how to sort things out. I see two options as the new leader. This branch here, which is growing towards the inside a bit, but that could be corrected by directional pruning. And the second option will be this trunk line here. However, if I keep this one, there will be just too much of a bend, while if I keep this one, the bend will be smaller and it will probably correct itself in time while the trunk is thickening up. So I'll most probably cut this off completely. Like this. This branch here has to be cut back shorter, so I will leave 3 leaves here. Then here up top I will leave this one as the actual leader and cut this part that's growing toward the inside of the tree. So here it goes. And then what to do with these side branches? Well, this one is not growing nice at all. I'll cut it back to here. Now this one here has a leaf node which would generate a new branch, a new shoot in this direction, so I'll cut it back to here. And I think that's about it.
I did remove a lot of foliage and this is what I'm left with now. Like in the case of the other prunings, I'm hoping for back budding so that I can get more branching on the lower parts of the trunk, but yeah, we will see. It should have no problem recovering. We're still in the growing season, even though it's the end of summer, but we still have some warm days in August and September. It was growing vigorously. As you can see, it has new leaves all over, so it should recover nicely. And on top of this, I ended up with a lot of new cuttings. I would love to hear your thoughts on improving the looks of this clump style Ficus benjamina and also on its evolution, so drop me a comment in the section down below. Thank you for joining me in this pruning session. I'm Stefan and I'll see you in the next Odd Bonsai video.